Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a Tactics Talk and a tank review. Who wants a brand new Russian medium, tier 8 hover medium? Who needs one? I have good news for you. I have really good news for you in several fronts. Number one is you can get it. You can get it for free in the marathon, but you're going to have to grind, my friends. You can get a big discount as well. We'll talk about that a little later. But what about the tank itself, which is primarily what we'll talk about here for the review? Well, I'm going to summarize it as this. I think that the devs were a little bit upset that they did not have a T54 140 430 type hover medium at tier 8. Now, you might argue that the T44 is that. It tries. It's a good tank. You might argue that the T54 first prototype is that. Again, it tries. It's a good tank. This thing is really better. I hate to say it. It is a good tank. So if you're going to spend your time grinding or you're going to spend some money, I will say you will not be disappointed in the performance of this tank. That is my upfront opinion of this tank. We'll do this standard way. Overview, tech tree, 3D model. Look at a comparison amongst itself. It's not in the comparison tool, unfortunately, right now, so it'll be against the T54, which I find it to be most similar to. Look at my setup, some examples of gameplay and how I did in the 10 battles that I fought. So let's get started with the Object 274 Alpha Premium Medium Russian brand new marathon tank. Well, it's a blueprint tank right off the bat, folks. Read it up here. It existed only in design. It was complicated. Existed only on blueprints. It was complicated. They did not actually make this tank at all. No. The setup for the configuration, at least as the crew goes, is commander, gunner, driver, loader. You're going to find that matches the rest of the RU mediums. Well, unfortunately, and I had to check this because as I was talking, it occurred to me some of the RU mediums, notably the T54 and several others, have the radio operator on the loader as opposed to the commander, and you will see that for the 274 Alpha, the radio operator is on the commander. That is extremely annoying that it's mixed up like that. That means that as you're training those crews, the skills that are mismatched are not going to work when it's in that particular tank. And there you have it. So that's it for the overview. You can see that it is, well, it's not it for the overview. We're not done. Just don't, hold on. You can see it's the standard hover medium look. Now it is pretty big, actually. If you take a look at that, and then the T44, just a bit beefier, bigger looking tank. Come around here to the front. You can see it's quite large. Prototype, whoop, shrinks down. So as far as a target of a medium, it's quite large. In fact, it rivals the heavy tank sizes a little bit. That probably speaks a lot to the development of it, getting complicated and getting bigger. It was supposed to replace the T54, so they were going to just start adding all kinds of stuff as designers are wont to do in the design phase. So since it never really got built, it's just this big beefy beast that has all kinds of stuff strapped onto it. Tech tree considerations, there are not many. We already covered the one with the crew. Like I said, it was the T54 that was one of the ones that was changed over to where the radio operator is. But as it is a commander, gunner, driver, loader, it will fit the vast majority, at least for the main qualifications for all of your RU mediums. So other than that, you get all the modules as it is a premium tank. Let's take a quick look at the 3D model in this thing. All right, well, here she is in tanks.gg. You can see that about a 190 relevant armor, about 160, 170 on the lower plate. We'll turn it here so you can kind of see it's a little bit rounded. That will cause some issues, especially if people get off, say they're shooting at you and they get a little bit off to the left, you get into some auto bounce angles. The turret is very nice, quite large though, so it's a large silhouette. Just real quick, here's the T54 first prototype, shrinks down, you can see that. We'll talk about that in just a minute. All kinds of armor on the turret. Looks like maybe some weaker spots right around on the side of the turret here, where the mantlet is, right there, if that can be believed. I'm assuming that's some kind of space armor though, so might be eating up the heat pretty good. Same thing here where that light is. Let me take a look at it over here. Can't quite get you to see it, but we'll take a look at the light again when we get back into the garage. So strong turret, okay, fairly angled. We'll take a look at the numbers, but the T54 prototype has more armor on the front, but it's thicker, but it's a poorer angles. We'll just take kind of look at that, right? So it's not as angled right there. You get that auto ricochet from the angles. Again, looking at the prototype, very similar though profile as the prototype. So my numbers are standing up to the prototype. It basically looks a lot like armor-wise prototype. It just has a lot more angles and weirdness going on as far as the shape of the hull, which can really cause people issues if you get offline just a little bit right there. There is a weak spot up here on the hatch that's very thin, and if you even come down a little bit, it gets into very thick really quickly. So it's really just the thin part of the top of the hatch. There's one over here too, but it is even thinner on the other hatch right there. You can see obviously as it angles, the side of the turret's not too thick. The side of the tank's not too thick. It looks like maybe there's some spaced armor on the side there as well, so you may want to watch out shooting there, try to get up underneath. Also note that it is fairly high off the ground. There's a lot of space under here for the old crit no damage into the tracks as the round goes low. So you're going to want to aim fairly high up here so that you don't get down underneath that guy. The other thing that was odd that I couldn't figure out for a while is that you get some pretty thick, at least it shows very thick, armor right here based on the angle, the purple right there, and it's hard to see. You can see it's a very rounded hole down below right there. So if you shoot low, you're going to get an even more auto bounce possibility down here. Just something to note. And again, as compared to the T-54 prototype, similar in armor thickness, and the trouble with penning it, it's just a different shape all around. All right, let's move on. All right, comparison amongst its peers. Unfortunately, because I don't have the comparison tool, I've set these things up here, and we're looking at the, vehicle details. Now, I've done something with the 274 Alpha that I don't usually do, and I sort of set it up in try-hard mode, which means I'm carrying food, and I've got a directive for vents, and I've got the vents put into the primary slot right there. All right. Plenty of gold carried around, all that good stuff. So each of these three that I'm going to compare, the T-44-100 and the T-54 first prototype, which I find to be the closest one to it really, they've all got good crews. They're all 3 or 4 skill crews. Anything really past 3 is probably getting into skills that don't matter too much. So 3 or 4 skill crews. All of the crews have brothers in arms as well. And then they're all set up exactly the same on equipment with vents, a rammer, and a vert stab. Food on all 3, and the vent directive on all 3, with the vents in the bonus slot right there. So we'll take a look at that. Usually I just go with the base model, but I wanted to see, the reason I went to the tryhard mode on this is I played a couple games, and I was seeing how good this thing is, but the gun was a little bit difficult to use, not very comfortable, so I said, well, let's do everything we can to kind of fix this gun and make this thing about as good as we can here and see how that changes things. And then I just rolled that into, let's compare it this way a little bit differently today. And the second reason I wanted to do that is because this thing is so good, it kind of made me curious, what exactly is the balancing factor on this tank? Because frankly, at this point, I don't see any real weaknesses other than potentially the gun handling. So we'll just cover that right now, take a quick look at it. So I've got the 274 Alpha in the middle, prototype on the left, and the medium, or the T-44-100 on the left, the prototype on the right. My left and right, I have no idea what they are. Yeah, I need another drink of coffee. The Alpha, you're going to note that right off the bat, and this seems to be the power creep thing du jour for wargaming. Everything has more and more Alpha. It really does. 320, that's a big deal. That is in and approaching heavy tank Alpha. We'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to, let's just leave it at that. Penetration. This is the standard round, guys. 227 with a standard round. Let that sink in on a premium tank that also has 320 Alpha. You might go, ooh, it's going to have a really long reload. Well, you'd be wrong. It's longer, but it's not really long. So 8.55 rate of fire, 10.3, 9.6, those two have better. Gun loading, 7 seconds in this configuration, 6.24 for the T-54 and 5.85 for the T-44. That's not really that far off, guys. Not the way this game is played. A medium tank dropping 320 with 227 pen and a 7-second gun reload. Remember when I said this is the 430, 140, 430U T-54 tank at tier 8. You know those tanks? Yeah. And there you go. -6 gun depression is a slight balancing factor. Yes, that can be uncomfortable in certain situations. If you know how to fight a Russian hover medium, it's not going to matter. But yeah, it's not -10. There you go. Does make it difficult sometimes to use the hull, but I'm sorry, the turret. But of course, in the flatter maps where you're using the rubble piles, things like that, corners, all that kind of stuff, very comfortable indeed. Aiming time is another place where it loses a little bit to the 44 and the T-54 at 234. It does seem to take a bit longer, but I didn't find it to be a big deal. Dispersion, try-hard mode down to 0.33. I'd have to look at it. I don't think I can do anything else to make the dispersion better. I could be wrong. There may be a piece of equipment or two I could move around, but 0.33 is about as good as you're going to get. That's pretty comfortable. Once I got it off the 0.35, 0.36 it was before I put on the equipment and ran food, things like that. Once I did that and got it down to 0.33, now it's no 0.3 or 0.31 like these other two, all right, but it is pretty comfortable. And when you're dropping 320 with a 227 pen, I go back to that, with a 7-second reload, you can work with 0.33 and even snapshots, things like that, get more comfortable and useful. All right, here we go, folks. We got a premium that's got probably, I didn't look at every tier 8 medium tank set up like this, but if it's not number 1, it's very close to number 1. And maybe the 416 has that weird, is it the 416 that has that weird outlier DPM? Maybe it wins, I don't know. But this is very definitely good, obviously. 2400 for the T-54 prototype, 2500 for the T-44. Once again, let's roll back to a 320 alpha and 227 average pen. Never mind the gold round, we'll get to that bad boy in just a second. But that is some serious capability in the way this game is played. Okay, you might go, ooh, gun depression hurts it. Ooh, dispersion hurts it. Well, the way the game's played, not really. Not really. This is I'm going to keep saying very good tank. We'll get to my opinion at the end. Turret armor is nice at 220. We talked a little bit about that when we looked at the tanks.gg. It's a larger tank, so it's a little bit easier to hit in that case. Okay, this is interesting here. The engine is relatively smaller, or it's relatively small, I guess. The specific power is pretty bad, actually. 17 is not great. It does take a hot minute to get going, but once it does, check this out. It does 58 top speed, whereas the T-44, which is known as a pretty zippy tank, is only 52, and the prototype is 51. So both of these will get off the line and get going, but I'm telling you, once this thing gets cooking, it's moving out. I mean, it's almost 60. It's almost doing 60. Oh man, reverse speed sucks at 15. That is something you do have to watch out for right there. Traverse is okay at 58, better than the T-54, worse. The concealment is actually pretty darn good at 26. All the hover mediums are. I'm a little bit curious why it's so good. It's really kind of a big beefy tank, but there you go. It's not very tall relatively, and height seems to be the big thing that Wargaming keys in on concealment, other than just physical, pure giganticness of size, but the height tends to hurt things. View range at 415. Why not? Why not just chuck that on top of that's the cherry, right? You put that cherry on top of that whipped cream, and it out views, at least in the configuration I have, the rest of them. There you go. All the crews have all the vision stuff, all the important skills. I'm not going to break it down, and you could probably make your setup a little bit different than these, but this is good for a general analysis. That the fact is, this thing is just plain better than these other two tanks in nearly every single way, and the places where it's worse don't really matter, to be quite honest, in the way the game is played. If you just look at the pure numbers, you might go, okay, here's the balancing factors. Fact is, it doesn't matter. That's Guido's opinion. All right, that's my comparison. Let's take a look at my stats. My stats. Look at me and how good I am. 10 battles. Tiny, minuscule sample size, but we can already see some things coming out of it. Ignore the win rate. That just means I won one more game than I lost in the 10 right there. But 60 is nice. 10 battles. 1,000 experience. pretty good. Anytime I'm around a 900 to 1,000 in a tier 8, I'm pretty happy. Just note that with the mod 1, which I have 100 battles in, I managed a 65 with an 1100, so similar numbers. All of the numbers are similar, to be quite honest. So 67.5 hits, that does speak to the gun is a little derpy. Remember, about 5 games in, I switched to try-hard mode. I will tell you it got better hit-wise at that point. 2.14 damage, 2.5 destruction. Armor use is actually pretty good at 0.5. Everybody say hi to Wildebeest. He's sending me a message right now in the middle of my video. Destruction ratio, 2.5. Armor use, 0.58. All right, guys. Anytime a tank gets to 0.5 in armor use, that means it has something going on for it, typically a turret or something like that. Some little bit of strength that is usable but not reliable, i.e. a turret on a medium tank. If you go to mod 1, 0.54, same thing, strong turret, okay, and pretty good hull, actually. I think the 274A's hull is just about as good, if not better, than the T54 mod 1. I think people might argue the better, but I say it's almost as good, and I don't think anyone would argue with that. Experience average of 1,000, like I said, averaging 1889 damage. If you go back again to the mod 1, which I consider a very similar tank, same numbers relatively, experience and DPG, 500 or so assist. It's interesting how these numbers are so similar for a person on all their tanks at that tier, especially tanks that are played similarly. There you go. And if we look at the T44-100, which is the other one I talked about, it's at 927, 55% win rate at 162 battles, and these numbers are a little bit smaller, but let's look at the armor use. Ooh, yeah, I don't think anybody says the T44-100 has great armor, and that plays out right here, doesn't it? Although it does hit a little better. I'm at 78% on the 100 and 77% on the mod 1. Note, let's just back up again, 'cause I think this is really important, that I said, you know, it's a derpier gun, hence I'm probably going to hit a little bit less with it, but because of the penetration, the hits are going to pen more, and that's going to be worth more to you in the long run. It's just the way the game is played, folks. I didn't make it. I'm just saying how it's done. Okay, so stats-wise, plays out pretty well, exactly what I thought. It seems a lot like a slightly better T54 mod 1 to me, just based on the alpha and the DPM and the way the game is played. Okay, how many times can I say that? About 1 million. Let's look at my setup. I kind of already went over it right there, so we'll just jump right into here. Vents in the bonus slot, a rammer, vert, stab, probably an argument for optics. People would probably carry that. There's a couple other things that could be important at this point, but I think this is still a pretty standard setup, minus possibly I think some of the better players may argue, you know what, I'd rather have optics than worry about the vents, just to give me that little bit of extra view range. Valid. You could go that way. All right, let's take a look at the penetration for this bad boy, for the gold round. Now let's see if we can get the... There we go. So penetration on the gold round is 289. Okay, so let's go over to the T54 prototype, and we'll see the penetration on its gold round is 247. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, guys. This thing, when it puts the rounds down range, even though it's a little derpier, not enough to matter. It's got the pen, and at 289, it can start taking on tier 10s, hitting them in the right place. Absolutely. Plus the plus or minus with the RNG factor going on, yeah, absolutely. When you consider your T54 mod 1 is raging around with a measly 190, presses 2 and only gets to 247, which is still going to struggle with that turret that it's got. And then when you roll up with your 279 alpha, you dab 2, and now you're looking at that T54 mod 1's turret, and you're like, I got a chance. He's got almost no chance, and you got a chance. Pretty good one, right? That's the difference. Yeah, there you go. That's my setup. Like I said, large kits, I'm carrying food and directives. I suppose if I was in true try-hard mode, maximum effort, these would all be APCR rounds. All right, let's look at some examples of gameplay, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Here's the first battle that I had in the tank. The very first one, right out the door. Like I said, I'm not carrying the directives or the food on this one. So I've got a fire extinguisher. I did not get lit on fire in the 10 games, either with the fire extinguisher or without it. I also heard reports of guys getting ammo racks fairly easily, other CCs. I did not find that to be an issue, but again, small sample size. So there you go. We're going to go ahead and push on in here. We are in Serene Coast, so I'm really just going to come up here and see what this armor can do. I took a quick look at it. Looked like it was a fairly well armored tank. I'm in an all tier 8 battle. A little bit of that protected action right when you start off with a brand new tank, it appears. I got a lot of tier 8 only battles, and we've got a 40T, so I'm expecting to be able to do a decent job of bouncing, although he's got pretty good pins. So just come up here. Yeah, close range, right? Pretty comfortable with the gun at close range, even with the bad dispersion, relatively anyway. There you go. My turret was turned, so he gets a little bit of a side shot into me. Yeah, see how I gave him the side armor and he punched right through there? Because I was turning my turret off to the right. Bit of a mistake. T-44's in there. There's that -6 gun depression. Can be a little... Oh, there we go. Got it done. Had to back out. The T-44's coming in, gets a shot into my side. Drop 347. That's really nice. I'm going to eat another shot, I think, from him. Yep, just can't quite back down enough. And he goes down the road. So we're already at 956. We've taken a couple hits, but those were all from poor position. Look at that. Not that bad, right? Supposedly a fairly derpy gun. Just shoot right into that dude. Oh, did not penetrate. That's a bummer. Even with spamming the gold, I didn't penetrate. It was well angled, though, based on the direction he was pointing. We're just going to go ahead and push in here. This is pretty much a romple. We've already got 5 of them dead. We stomped them up here in the north. The peninsula is holding on, and there's a bunch of campers back here. I mean, there's, what, 1, 2, 3 guys. There's 2 that haven't even really left cap unless they came back from the peninsula, which is possible once they saw that the romple starting to go down there. So we'll push in. We're up to 1323. There's an RHMB right there. Here's where we'll have to work. I already know I'm going to have to work with the gun depression, so I'll come up in this little bit of a flatter spot right here. A little shot onto him. Again, comfortable. I got a pretty good vibe with the gun on this first one, even without the food, and then I started here. Dang it. I should have snapped that shot, obviously. Should have snapped that shot, so we're nicely angled. We're going to get some damage. There we go, 342. I mean, you're dropping 342 with a relatively fast-firing, relatively accurate medium tank gun. Let's see if we can get... See how it's just sort of slow to get going? That's full speed ahead right there. Chug-a-lug-a-lug, starting to move. There we go. Now we've got the speed up. We're hitting 40. 46. Knocking stuff down. We're at 50. 51. Oh, now we got to go up a hill. So yes, it is not super fast, but with that top speed of 58, once you get going, it does pretty well. But that specific power, any kind of hill or undulations or thing is going to knock off kilometers an hour right off the bat. It's just really how this kind of tank works. Come in here. I think I missed a shot. Yeah, that went right into the dirt. Then I wanted to ram. I got clipped a little bit. That guy gets the kill. Head on in here. Just keep on pushing. Standard Russian hover medium technology. Pushing on in. I don't know if I get another shot. I feel like I don't. Oh, that one missed. So that was a shot on the run. Yeah, I don't get another shot because I try to take this line and it's not a good line. I did not realize it was so deep, and I've got to hurry up and try to not drown. The last guy's dead, and I think I would have drowned, actually. I don't think I would have made it if we hadn't won. 1 kill, 1,935, 387 assists, only 1 bounce. A lot of shots in my side, the side of my turret, so not great armor profiles to present to get shot, so I got pinned by that. That was the first game. Let's take a look at a couple more 3,000 damage games. Alright, a few games later, this will be my first 3,000 damage game. Still not running the food or vents. I'm going to go ahead and head off this way. I see a couple mediums trolling around over there. Bulldog's doing his thing. I think actually the Bulldog comes over. Yeah, here we go. So again, while the gun isn't great, zooms in. Okay, worked fine there, right? The old Russian accuracy. The Bulldog's running around thinking, hey, maybe I'll get another shot on this guy because he really seems to want to put out in the open. Yep, just pop him again. A lot of times when I'm running to another spot, I'll just leave the regular rounds in, even when I'm try-hard. just because those two shots could have as easily missed going out there, and I really don't want to waste gold rounds. I thought about going over to the bowl over there where the M41 was raging around, but with the 2 artillery, I really didn't want to risk that getting pounded. Then I see the EBR raging in. So we'll watch him, see if we can get a shot on him as he goes over. Just missed, a little bit out, just a bit outside. There is nothing going on up here. They only sent a couple guys, it looks like. And our mediums are already pushing all over them. My little pause to take those sniper shots kept me from being in the fight, but notice how slow the hill climb was. That's the specific power coming in and working against you right there. All of a sudden, a few more guys show up. So there is a bit of a fight here. Our mediums and lights are getting a bit mauled. Come in here and see if I can't get this bulldog. Not quite. It was online, just went a little bit low. Lynx goes raging by. Try to take the high ground. He dies. And we'll just go up here a little bit. FL10's raging around. I'm thinking, hey, can you come up over here, buddy? Let me get a shot. I'll just keep moving towards the top because I want to come down the other side. There he goes. Just missed him. And now it's time to finish these guys off. There's a Pershing around the corner. These guys are doing a little bit of tap dancing, and I'll just use the armor on this thing. We'll just come at this guy. I want to make sure I got a good shot on him here instead of snap one off. We'll just auto him. We miss. That's a bummer. We'll go right by him. He's going to get a shot to our side. Turn to the front, little slide. There we go. He's going for it. There's a bounce. That front armor profile really nice right there. And then all of a sudden we got all kinds of guys who go Pershing. There's a crit, no damage. We'll tuck up here. There are 2 artillery. Here's the problem with the gun depression. You got to be very careful how you use it. There we go. Shot into the Pershing. Still using AP. Haven't found anything really that I need to use. I do get hit by the Super. That's a miss. Super's a little bit further back. And given that side profile, he's able to pin me. I'm hoping maybe this time he won't. Misses. There we go. Get a shot on the Pershing. Super's back there. Team is starting to lose. I am noting the losing. That's not good. The Artie now is paying attention. I actually get a shot with a damage or a stun on me right there. We'll do a little bit better of job of peeking over here. That misses. You can see it hit the ground right in front of him. Now he's backing out. And as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, all right, there's no real reason to keep pushing a defending Super Pershing who's really doing nothing anyway, because that right there is what's going to happen. I'm going to continue to get bombarded. So let's just disappear from the Super and head back up the hill. Looks like the LT-432 has the same idea. And anyway, the problem is back at cap, obviously. So probably a little bit late in reacting anyway to that. We'll just speed this up because it takes a while. That's that specific power. It's just, it is a bit painful climbing up hills right there. So we'll keep going. I'm looking back because I don't want the Super to come around the corner. If he had any kind of brain, he'd be pushing us, but he doesn't. And we'll come up around here, and now we're coming into this area. I'm going to turn around for just a second. I'm thinking I want to go back, and then I realize, well, there's only 3 of us. Let's just do what we can. We'll head down here. Take this little angle. It's very clear this is not going to go that well, right? There's only 2 of us left. Very late coming back, so a lot of that's my fault. I kind of overcommit into that hole, but I am able to kill the JPZ. That was kind of a snapshot right there. You know, I didn't aim very long, and it worked out. Chrysler's coming in. Oh, there's a guy behind me, but I just want to see if I can get rid of this guy. Oh, there's the Artie that hurt. Here comes this dude. And I don't know. I have no idea how that pinned. Maybe I got into his turret ring. Maybe I hit the hatch on the top somehow. That worked out for me. 2,679. Now I'm just fighting for one more shot. This guy's not really paying attention. I'm able to come up and over and sneak one more in there and give me 3,000. And I'm just hoping for one more shot. I think the Artie or somebody comes up behind me and kills me before either one of these guys wants to come at me. I think, yeah, there we go. Of course, it's the Artie. 3,000 damage, 366 assist, 800 bounce, and 1 kill. So that was my first 3,000 damage game in the tank. Third example, all tier 8 again. Usually I try to show you guys a mid-tier and a bottom tier with tier 10s. I don't think I fought any tier 10s. They got 2, maybe 3 games with tier 9s. And a couple of them were potato games. I didn't have anything to do with the tank. The problems that just had to do with me being a Muppet and playing poorly. So really the only things I've got to show you are the all tier 8. And that's nice, you know what I mean? If you can get some all tier 8 games in a tank like this. But I will say it's got lots of penetration with its gold round, premium round, special round, whatever you want to call it. The STA-1 just going to drive across here and give me a shot. And I just barely slowed down. Bink, there you go, 343 right off the bat. And I'm going to go into pure bully mode here. So anyway, back to the tier 10 thing. It's got plenty of pen to deal with that. I mean, you're not going to run around and obviously dominate everything willy-nilly. Trying to get past this dude. But it's going to do just fine in tier 10 as a tier 8 medium, which is, you know, that's the standard caveat with all that kind of thing. I really just don't think they have anybody here based on what I'm seeing. On the other side, the tanks they have, the number of TDs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So I'm looking at this going, I can see a couple of the heavies down on the other side, on the east. I just don't see anything here. And then their bad chat, I've realized he's managed to turn himself over. Take a hit from that guy just to come over here and farm this poor dude. I'm sorry, dude. That's unfortunately I'm using my gold. There we go. I switched and I got bright. Somehow got bright. There's that -6. I'm actually on a slight downslope, which gives me just enough to finish this guy off. T69 is using all his rounds, so let's just push in. I figure there's probably a TD back there. I'm surprised I don't get hit as I come up here, so it makes me think, well, maybe there isn't one. And so I come over here and I think, ooh, I'm gonna kill off this Artie. This will be cool. And we hit him. That's ooh, ow. That's an ammo rack. Fix it. Well, there's the ammo rack. I said I wasn't ammo racked. I guess I meant blown up ammo rack. Somebody else hit me. Another Scorpion G. There's 2 of them. There's the Scorpion and Scorpion G, and I'm thinking, oh, geez, that is not good. He is right in there somewhere. And then the 432 hits me from behind, so I'm getting all kinds of angles of shots on me right here. I'm trying to get a shot on the... Just shoot through there. I need to get rid of that thing because I can't see where that guy is. There we go. Nope, don't have a highlight. If I do, it's a very small one. LT-432 is raging. We'll just take a blind shot. That hits the ground. I can see that. Still a Scorpion G behind us. We're doing okay. But this goes from bad to worse. You can see we got a big problem over in the east. Shooting into the... I'm a little bit worried about getting shot in the rear again, too, because the 432 and the Rev are still rolling around in the middle somewhere. I'm not in a really great position. So I said, ooh, let's be the big bully tank here and see what we can do being a bully tank. And managed to get myself overextended. Good news is we thump him. Please don't hit me from behind. That's why I come around the corner. I'll just take the chance. Hopefully the Scorpion doesn't have an opportunity to aim at me. He seems kind of busy right now. That's what I'm counting on. And I'm also hoping he gets flushed out. There we go. So we get one more shot and we're up to 2,600. The WZ is way over there. So we'll see what we can do with him. He gets hit. Poke one in. Looks like that missed, actually. And turn around because obviously we got a problem back at cap. It's fairly even looking. I click on the cap. Someone says affirmative. That means at least somebody is. I've never been so proud of a team in all my life than this team right here. The only guy still wandering around pushing the cap is the T69 over there, and maybe he is helping us out by keeping their campers a little bit busy, but everybody else is coming back to try to do something about the cap, and we still have one Artie. So while I make a lot of fun of Artie players, this guy becomes very critical to what we're doing. It's very obvious where they sit. When they try to cap, there's a corner that they can get around behind, and the only way to get them lit is like where the Sturv is, or maybe the TS5. So I'm going to move in here into these bushes. The 432 is doing his level best to keep us from getting close enough, or to give his guys lights to kill us before we get close enough, but he starts taking damage. And holy cow, we're at 3. The Artie fired, but did not get a stun, it appears. So we're at 7 seconds, and we're just hoping somebody please... There we go. Somebody going to get him? I'll fire. Oh, I switched. Really, it was the 432 that saved us. I took so long trying to get a shot on somebody, and now here goes all the cap points. And the derpiness of this pretty long-range shooting, the derpiness of the guns working against me a little bit. It's a Progetto. I expect the pen no matter where I hit him. There we go. 432 is raging through, and all of a sudden we've got a huge advantage. He takes a hit and a hit. He's down, and now we're in the driver's seat. We got a couple camping guys, the Suma and the WZ, the Rev hanging out in the middle. There's an AT the last of the pushers hanging out in the south part. We find him at low hit points. I don't know if I get any more damage. I'm at 3,287. No shots there. I'll try to get past the TS5. He's lining up. He nukes that guy. Sorry, TS5. I think I might get one more shot, potentially, on the WZ. Standard medium mobility. Clearly not the WZ. He's dead. I might not even get a shot on this guy. Oh, yeah, I do get a shot on this guy. There we go. All right. 3,595, 777 assist, 490 bounce with 1 kill and a win. And pretty good example of this tank can do the bully thing to some extent. Obviously, Scorpions are going to shred just about any medium tank at tier 8. No kidding, if you just walk out in front of a couple of them, they're probably going to hit you. End pen. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Well, all right. What is the summary here? Well, I'll tell you. The summary is that this is a very good tank, a very good premium medium tier 8 Russian tank. You will not be disappointed. I would say a price point at 30 or below, depending on how far you get along in the marathon, would be pretty well worth it. But overall, it's hard to argue with. You've got a lot of alpha. You've got a lot of DPM. The combination of those two is deadly in this game. The way the game is played, it is a slightly derpy gun that can be managed by using the right equipment and setup. But even if you don't use that equipment and setup, because it can be expensive silver-wise, it's still going to be a very strong medium tank. Break. All right, that's my hard sell. That's the shill. Okay, that's the shill. The fact is, this thing is overpowered as the day is long at tier 8. The game makes up for overpowered tanks with a tiering system, unless they happen to be tier 10s, at which point you can really see the sins of overpowered tanks. That's just the way it is. That's how tanks are going these days. That's how World of Tanks is going. So it definitely checks the box of flavor of the month. There is virtually no downside to this tank, and the ones that it has simply don't matter in the way the game is played. I will leave it up to you to make your determination on whether that's a good or bad thing, or whether you care or not, and I'm not going to go into that. That's a video for another day. But this is a very good premium tier 8 tank, and you just won't be disappointed. There's nothing else to say. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you. Let me know what you think down below in the comments.